Good morning, or good afternoon, should I actually say. My name is Helen, and welcome to my first podcast on my blog. So this podcast is actually inspired by a certain GIF that came into my newsfeed approximately 5 minutes ago. It was of Kath and Kim, and particularly Kath was making some expression that was a little bit humorous, and the caption was, "When everyone says that their dog is the cutest, but I know for sure that it is in fact mine being the cutest animal." And so I thought that was quite funny, and so I thought that as I was absent-mindedly strolling my canine companion in one hand and my Instagram feed in the other, why not do my first ever podcast on dogs, and particularly introduce my particular puppy, whose name is Beau, and that's Beau as in the French boyfriend, and not Beau as in the one that you tie around your hair or your neck. No, this is not a human Beau, although it is a great running joke that I make that only benefits me when people ask what I'm doing tonight. So for example, I'll just say, "Oh, hanging out with Beau," or "having dinner with Beau." But Beau is actually my tiny but larger than life dog. Beau is a mini foxy cross Chihuahua, and when he first entered my world, he was literally in the palm of my hand, and now he's quite a big grown-up 3.5 kilograms. I'll tell you a couple of things about him. Beau has more clothes than I do, and no, these are not my purchases. These are purchases made by my parents, who think Beau absolutely needs that fake Burberry jacket or that Addy dog jumper. Beau is very, very boisterous, and he does his best to make up for his size. All of those around him stereotype him as a yapper with some kind of prissy tenement, but he really is quite a solid little man through and through. It's not his fault his grandparents insist he wear a raincoat because there's clouds out. He comes with me everywhere and makes friends with everyone. He's quite socialized. Now, the problem is, with Beau looking so handsome and friendly all the time, that every single person, without fail, will stop and seem to think they are entitled to maul him with their big human hands and interrupt whatever I was doing, wherever I was going, or whoever I was talking to. And honestly, it's quite astonishing. Do people not see that there is an overarching human right there? "Excuse me, I'm having coffee and in mid-conversation. Do you really need to place your hands all over my small dog and shove your head quite literally into the middle of my conversation?" No, it's actually very rude. Would you maul a toddler who clearly has a supervising human right there? No. So why are small dogs any different? Why doesn't anyone ask, I would say approximately 2 out of 10 ask, "Can I please pat your dog?" Now, this is something that I've never had to encounter with any of my other past canine companions. I've grown up with Great Danes and Bull Mastiffs who've stayed firmly on their acreage territory, myself and my family being the only humans they ever knew, and so they never had the opportunity to walk outside the property or go for walks along the footpath, simply because they were too large, and second, they were quite happy on their own property. Walking them would have been a disaster. So for me, having Beau, my 3.5 kilogram Chihuahua cross mini foxy or Foxiehuahua, is a whole new board game. So not only, going back to the interruption situation and the neglect of seeing the overarching human, not only does old mate come in and maul my precious numero uno, but then once they stop ignoring me and realize that there is a human there, they then proceed to ask me all kinds of questions about him. And depending on my mood and the conversation and maybe the activity that they just interrupted, my answers will be either detailed or my answers will be brief with a strong "please leave" tone attached. it's quite a regular occurrence for me to just have Beau on the lead under my chair and allow him to greet those going past and going by. And sometimes I can turn around and see a small army of children behind my chair playing with him while I absentmindedly just hold his lead and continue on whatever I was doing or whoever I was talking to. Then there are those who proceed to give me advice. For example, you can't always just let your dog meet another dog, and it doesn't really matter how friendly the other person's four-legged pal is. You never know how they'll just react to another animal in the first instance. So, for example, sometimes when I'm walking along with Beau and there is a large Labrador coming our way, I will take precautions and I'll pick him up initially and, perhaps introduce them when they're a little bit closer and I'm able to be of more control. Now, I don't have any issues with big dogs, as I said. I've grown up with big dogs all my entire life, but the large mammal's owner is usually personally affronted. No, I don't think your dog will harm my dog. I'm sure he or she is very, very friendly. But you never quite know how an overexcitable and jumping pint-sized pupper will be received by perhaps an older Labrador. One of my personal favourite stories is this particular one. This is an experience that I'll still recount all the time to everyone that asks. I was with my mum at a shopping centre on the Gold Coast, and Beau was quite young and perhaps might have been 1.5 kilos instead of his big grown-up 3.5 he is now. And I had him in one arm, and my mother and I were standing in an intense conversation. And this lady came straight over, and she had in one hand a cleaning spray and a rag in the other, and she had been wiping down her shop window. And she comes right over and quite literally sticks her head in the middle of us and goes, "Oh, can I pat him?" And then she proceeds with the hand that had all the detergent in it and the rag to go and pat Beau, who was just a baby, just a puppy. And I kind of pulled back a little bit, and then she became very, very upset. She goes, "Oh, no, my hands are clean. I would never touch him if my hands weren't clean." And I said, "Oh, well, it's just that there's just some cleaning products and he's just a puppy. He's quite young." And she goes, "Well," and her face looked like I had said the most despicable thing to her you could possibly imagine. She goes, "I have little ones as well, and so I am very protective of my animals, and I would never ever touch a dog if I didn't think my hands were clean." Short of me saying, "It's not that your hands aren't clean, it's that they've got chemicals on them, and this is a tiny puppy, and no, I'm in the middle of a conversation, and can you please not stick your head in, firstly, and second of all, think that it's okay for you to maul him." So, needless to say, that lady walked away with quite an unhappy vibe coming from her, rolled her eyes quite considerably, and exited. And then again, that gave us Mum and I some fodder to discuss in quite depth a bit later. So I actually have too many stories that I could recount in relation to Beau and our various adventures. However, I might just leave it there for now, and you'll be able to find some images of our many, many adventures on the same page where you access this podcast. So that's me signing off for now, and thanks for listening to my first ever podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.